quick. Can you just count for me really quick to make sure my mic isn't updated?
Sure. 1, 2,
perfect.
3.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chief Jeff Hadley of the Chatham County Police Department. Here to report on our double homicide investigation that took place at about 6:15 a.m. this morning on Palmetto Bay Cove, which is in Wilmington Island. Our officers were dispatched to that location. When they arrived on scene, they had a deceased male in a residence, and next door they discovered a deceased female. It was later determined that they were husband and wife. The officers also encountered a male juvenile at that location. He's 16 years of age. They detained him. He is currently now in custody on his way to the YDC. He will be charged with 2 felony counts of murder and should be arraigned tomorrow. We do know that he was enrolled in the Chatham County Public School System. What exact school, I'm not sure of. Through the investigation, we determined that the deceased were stabbed. That was the method of the crime. So we also determined that the deceased male is a Savannah police officer. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to Savannah PD and his family. We have not been able to make next of kin notification to his family, so we're unable to release his name at this time or that of his wife. So without any further ado, certainly answer what questions I can for you.
So Chief, this is obviously a pre-theft thing to investigate as a police officer. Can you kind of explain how investigating a homicide is different when it's another officer?
Well, you know, because you're dealing with people that you have relationships with, and it's hard to turn off those emotions for our officers. Obviously, many of you know that a lot of our officers came over from Savannah PD. They know the deceased, they know the folks that are on scene there, and it becomes incredibly difficult. And we know, and we all know, what unfortunately a tough time Savannah PD has had this year. With them losing an officer in the line of duty and some of the other incidents that they've had to deal with. So we're here to support them as much as we can, be good partners in law enforcement with them. So it's tough. It's a tough day in Chatham County for law enforcement, for sure. Ma'am.
Are you able to give details on the relation between the teen and the victims?
We believe that the suspect is the brother of the deceased female.
Okay. And he was found at which residence? The suspect was found at which residence?
I'm not sure which exact residence he was found at. He was found outside. It could have been in between the two. They're right next to each other. Okay. But he was outside the residence. He wasn't inside the residence.
And the female victim was at the second home. Did she flee to that second home, or?
We believe that was her residence. We believe that the male subject left his residence and went next door to the neighbors in seeking assistance.
Oh, so the male left his home for the neighbors. The female was found in what would be their home.
That's correct.
You said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Chief, can you go into what role SPD is playing in this and where this investigation goes from here?
As far as the investigation goes, I believe they may have provided some assistance with forensics, but aside from that, it's our investigation. We will investigate this until its completion. They are handling their agency's ability to deal with the loss of one of its members, so that's their primary role, I would imagine, right now. But as far as the investigation goes, it's our investigation.
Did you say there were 2 crime scenes, or was there 1?
Well, you have, since the male left the one residence and went to the other, you technically have 2 crime scenes because of the location of the deceased was at one or at 2 locations. But primarily, we believe the incident mostly happened at the one location where the deceased female was found.
And then that male went to a neighbor's house and subsequently died there?
That's correct.
Was anyone in danger at that second location?
We do not believe so.
You mentioned that you thought it was the brother of the wife, so even though he's 16, he's a brother, not like a nephew. We've heard nephew from some people.
We believe he's his brother.
And then because he's going to be charged, you know, with the crimes you mentioned, are we going to be able to identify that person once he's charged, or because he's 16, is he going to be a juvenile?
Unless I'm directed otherwise, we believe he's a juvenile, and the release of that information would have to come through the district attorney's office if it is released.
So he's not getting charged with murder as an adult then?
That's not my belief. He's being charged with 2 counts of felony murder as a juvenile because he is 16.
Do we know anything about, is it too early, Chief, to know anything about his history? Does he have a history, the suspect?
I do not know that. It would be too early to ascertain that right now.
Had you guys responded to that home before
We had responded to that home in the last several weeks.
for a similar situation, or?
It was some type of domestic situation, but I don't have any level of detail relative to that.
Just to be a little more specific, I've kind of just been identifying it as Palmetto Bay Cove, that road. Is there like a block on that road, a numbered system, like an address type?
Yeah, it's in the single digits.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I don't like to give out exact
No,
addresses,
yeah.
but it's in the single digits.
Other than your agency, Chief, and forensic unit from SPD, is anyone else involved as far as the investigation is concerned?
No, sir.
Have you got a sense, was there any alcohol or drugs or something like that involved?
Not that I'm aware of, no. This happened at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is really kind of unusual, actually, for a crime such as this, at least in my experience.
Do you know if the suspect was living there, or was he just visiting?
We believe he was living there.
Do you know how long he'd been living there?
I do not know that.
And I know you said stabbed. Anything about a shooting as well? I think this morning there was a little bit of confusion, stabbing, shooting.
Yeah, there was some information that maybe a gun had been discharged, but we're trying to ascertain if that's correct or not. But that was not the method of death for the 2 deceased.
Any sense of the neighbors or anybody, you have any witnesses to this case at this point? Or-
Not that I'm aware of.
Motive?
I do not have that.
Did he admit to the crime?
I can't answer that.
Were people home at the second home when the officer left?
They were home.
Did they call 911, or kind of what was the situation there?
I'm not sure who called 911. They may have, but I don't know that for sure.
You said he's being arraigned tomorrow,
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
held at the Juvenile Detention Center.
I believe so. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.